Good morning, everybody. I'm Steph, and welcome to Pilates. And today we're going to be doing Pilates in a very small living space, my narrowboat. So just to prove that we can exercise anywhere, doesn't matter how small, I hope you'll come along with me, and we're going to go along through the boat now to our workout area. So are you ready to warm up with me? We're going to find a nice stable base with our feet. And today we've got Lammy the dog cheering us on, and she might well join in a moment, but she's not looking terribly lively, so it might be unlikely. So we've got a good stable base with our feet. Make sure your feet are hip width apart and the feet are at parallel, with a little bit of softness in those knees, and standing up nice and tall and straight. We need to find those core muscles, so gently narrowing your waist to bring that belly button towards the small of your back. And don't forget to engage the lower part of your rib cage as well. Just relaxing those shoulders down, chest is lifted, and we're good and long through the back of the neck, all the way up into the crown of the head. Let's take a few deep breaths to begin. As you draw your inward breath in through your nose, just lengthening the spine and just reaching up tall. As you take your outward breath out through your mouth, let's use that exhalation to narrow the waist a little bit more, tighten those tummy muscles, and just find the core, drawing toward your center on the outward breath. And again, a nice long inward breath, lengthening the spine. And as you exhale, finding those core muscles on the exhalation. Now we're just going to warm up the legs. So coming into the squat position, just bring your weight back towards your heels and keeping that space even between the knees and the feet. Take the weight back into your tail, a nice straight back, and you can use your hands on your legs just to support that move as you close the angle at the knee and the hip. And we'll come straight up, pressing into the heels and squeezing the glutes and lifting that pelvic floor. Let's go again. Exhale back, keeping your weight back into your tail and the weight into those heels, and then inhaling up, a nice straight spine as you reach up tall. We need 2 more squats. Exhale, and this time if you want to, just bring those hands forward to help you to balance. And inhaling up. And 1 more squat. Exhale back and inhaling to come up. Well done. Now we're just going to warm up those core muscles a little bit. So I'll turn sideways so I've got a bit more space. We're going to just bring those arms out to the side now, keep the shoulders down, and exhale to bring the body into a sideways movement. Inhale to center. And again, squeezing the core muscles, belly button towards the spine. Exhale over. Inhale, center, and we need another side bend. Exhale. Inhale, center, stay tall, and 1 more to the opposite side, keeping your weight even across the feet. Ready for a spine twist next. Make sure your hips stay forward and center and don't follow you around as you take your twist. Arms come out to the side just below shoulder height. Exhale and just rotating the upper body towards the corner and inhale center. Now we've got to be careful here not to bring the arm across the body. So just keep those arms right out to the side as you take that twist. Exhaling across and inhaling back to center. And we'll do 1 more to the opposite side. Exhale across and inhale center. Now see if you can step a little bit wider with those feet. Take the toes out to the side as well and lengthen your tail down towards the floor, really engaging the core and standing tall. Already you should feel a little stretch through your hip flexors. We're going to turn 1 knee out to the side, bend that knee, but try to keep your other leg nice and straight so you're keeping that stretch across the adductor. We'll exhale to reach the opposite arm across to the inside of that knee and then sweep the arm nice and high as you straighten out your leg. Exhaling across to bend the knee. Inhale, stretch up and around to the back. And again, 2 more. Exhale across, inhale up and around, and 1 more. Exhale across and inhaling up and around. Are we ready for the other side? Let's turn that knee out now, keeping the opposite leg fully straight. And again, reaching across with the opposite arm before extending up towards the ceiling and straightening out that knee. Exhale. Notice your knee is travelling towards your big toe. Keeping it out and open is important, so the weight stays even across your feet. And 1 more. Inhale up and to the back. Well done. Now we're just going to rotate across, pivot the back foot and lift that heel up. Take a look at your back heel. It needs to be lifted and that knee pointing directly ahead. Be careful not to turn your back toe out to the side, otherwise you'll lose alignment. We're ready to stretch this hip flexor a little bit more. So staying nice and tall with your body and upright, keep that chest lifted and just slightly lower your back knee towards the floor into a lunge position. And then coming straight up, staying tall, lunging towards the floor. If you're a little bit more supple, you might be able to come lower towards the floor. But if you're not feeling so good today, just keep that a very small move. A couple of inches will do. Try to avoid the body moving forwards like this and then backwards. We want our bodies to travel in a vertical plane, straight down and straight up. And you should be able to feel that stretch through your hip flexor. Let's hold that position now, extending one arm up and then your second arm. Hold and breathe deeply. Inhale back, circling one arm to the back and up. Exhale. Inhale and stretch that other arm all the way to the back. And then exhale to come up. Let's pivot around to the opposite side. Now, for the purposes of the video, I'm just going to change feet here, but you can turn all the way around to the other side. We've got a new back leg. The back heel is lifted, we're up on the toe, and the front knee is bent. If you're struggling with balance here, you could split your feet a little wider, just to give you that wider surface area, and you might feel a little bit more stable that way. But if your balance is good, you can just keep them slightly narrower. And we want to be in that nice upright position. Here comes that little lunge down, bending the back knee towards the floor and then coming straight up. And again, bending the back knee, keeping your heel lifted and up. You should feel this stretch through your hip flexor. We're lengthening this muscle and hoping to improve our flexibility, particularly of the hamstrings. And we'll do 1 more and then hold that lunge position. Reaching one arm up, lengthen to the fingertips. Let's lift the other arm and really stretch. Inhale back, circle and exhale. Inhale back and circle and exhale. And ready to come up, straightening out those legs and step up tall. Next, we're going to mobilize the spine and do some roll downs. For our roll downs, the opposite of the squat, we need to keep the weight forward to the front of the toes a little bit and definitely some softness in those knees. With your pelvis position, we want to try and avoid a forward tilt of the pelvis while you're trying to do your roll down. So we'll need to keep that pelvis in the upright or neutral position, lengthening the tail down and under and keeping those abs engaged. Now normally we would stretch up at the beginning of our roll down, but as you can see, I've got very little headroom here. So we're just going to start our roll down today in the standing position. As you inhale, reach up into the crown of your head, really lengthen the spine. As you breathe out,
we're going to just come into a head nod to begin with, keeping that tail tucked under. Then start to softly round the upper spine. We're scooping in with the belly, softly rounding the middle part of the spine and still keeping the tail tucked. The knees are soft as we lengthen and round the lower part of the spine. Now you might have a little bit more flexibility than I do here, but we're trying to lengthen the lower part of the spine. Be careful not to lock your knees, and definitely we're not stretching out the legs. So we want to avoid this position with the tail coming out behind, and you can see there's very little flexibility through the spine. So we're keeping that nice rounded position, opening up between the vertebrae, and then softly restack the spine, lower, middle and upper spine. Now we just did a little half roll down there, and if you have any kind of injury, you definitely want to stick with just a half roll down. Don't go all the way down to the floor. It's also a good idea if you're carrying a condition such as osteoporosis to minimize the flexion and keep your hands on your own legs. So we won't be going into such quite a deep flexion as you roll down and sliding the hands along the legs to support that move on the way up. But if you're not carrying any injury, we can take our roll down a little bit further on each one. So let's inhale to lengthen, exhale, head nod, scooping and rounding, and just starting to lengthen those fingertips towards the floor. And we're trying to mobilize the spine as we go. So just keep that move flowing and moving. And we'll inhale again on the way up. And again, exhale down, round and scoop. And you might stick with just a half roll down and then roll up. Or you might be coming a little bit further towards the floor. We'll make this one our last one. Exhale down and inhale to restack all the way to the top. Shoulders back and stop. So now we're going to come down onto the floor, or I'm actually on a sofa here, which isn't ideal because it's a bit soft, but you can go down onto the floor now, and we're sitting up nice and tall on the top of those sit bones. So just lengthening up through the spine into the crown of the head and placing the soles of your feet down flat. The space between the knees and the feet needs to be the same. And you can hold on just to the back of your thighs with your fingertips. Bring those shoulders back and down, and that chest is nicely lifted. If you're struggling to sit tall here, you could sit up on your head block just to take a little bit of the pressure away from the lower back. And we're just going to continue with our warm-up of mobilizing the spine. Inhale to lengthen the spine into the crown of the head. And as you exhale, we're going to scoop in with the belly to soften the back muscles and just round, creating a gentle flexion through the spine. And then we'll inhale again, and on your next exhalation, just draw that flexion forward towards your knees. Inhale to restack your spine from the bottom of the spine, middle, upper spine, and then grow tall to finish that move. Let's do that again. Inhale to sit tall. Exhale to create a C-shaped curve through the spine, belly button towards the small of your back. And we've got that rounded curve from the crown of the head to the tip of the tail. Inhale here, drawing the breath into your back. And exhale, draw that flexion forward, forehead towards your knees. Inhale to restack the spine, and we'll just do that a couple of more times. And one more. As you exhale, really tighten those tummy muscles. Think of the belly button drawing inwards towards the small of your back. Breathing in, we're taking that breath to the back. As you exhale, keep scooping in, and we're narrowing the lower part of the rib cage as well. And then inhaling, feel that you're restacking the vertebra one at a time, starting at the bottom of the spine, middle of the spine, and finishing at the top. Well done. So we're still sitting up nice and tall, right on the top of those sit bones, and now we're going to do a little half roll back. You can still keep your fingertips just behind the thighs there for a little bit of support, but bring those elbows nice and softly out to the side to keep the shoulders down away from your ears. Be careful when you roll back that your arms don't get too straight or send the shoulders upwards or the chest inwards. So we're bringing those elbows gently out to the side, sitting nice and tall, and then on the next exhalation, scooping in with the belly button towards the small of your back to create your C-shaped curve through the spine, and just rocking back onto the back of the pelvis here. We're coming about halfway down towards the floor, but don't feel you have to go this far. If you want to just come back a little bit behind the vertical, then that's absolutely fine. Use your next inhalation then to restack. So we're working those tummy muscles, squeezing the ribs, belly button to the small of the back, and then restacking the spine, bottom, middle, and upper. Let's go again. Exhale and squeezing those tummy muscles to rock back halfway down towards the floor. Remember to keep the elbows soft and those shoulders back. And then inhaling to restack the spine, bottom, middle, and upper. Now, for those of you that have been coming to my classes for a little bit longer, if you want to, you can just let go with your fingertips. But if you're carrying an injury or a condition, then just keep those fingertips there for a bit of extra support. And we'll exhale back and just using those tummy muscles. And you might want to come a little bit lower if you're a little bit more advanced, and placing down just the lower part of the spine there as well onto the floor before restacking. And we're really getting ready for our roll back or roll down onto the mat. We'll just do one more, and then on our next one we will be peeling down all the way to the floor. So inhale up, and on your next one, exhale. And if you need to put your hands down to come all the way down to the floor and lower your elbows for a little bit of extra help, then please do. Or you can keep your fingers on your legs as you slowly peel down, one vertebra at a time, landing the upper spine, the shoulders, and then finally placing your head onto the mat. Now, if you're down on your mat and you feel that your chin is lifting up towards the ceiling like this, the back of the neck will be shortening. We want to keep it nice and long, so if that is you, just pop a head block or a cushion behind your head so that we're in a nice neutral position. In our neutral spine, there might be a small space or a gap underneath the lumbar spine. We want to now engage our core in this neutral position. So if you place one hand under your lumbar spine and the other hand on the top of your abdominals to feel them, on your next exhalation, we're going to draw down with the lower part of the rib cage here, as well as narrowing all the way around the waist. We want to flatten the torso, the lower part of the ribs disappearing. We're tightening those abdominal muscles either side, drawing towards the center, and you might feel gentle pressure down on those fingers underneath the lumbar spine. You don't want to squash them completely though, so leave some of the blood in your fingers. Hold that position for me, and then we'll take the hand away and place your hands down onto the mat. Now we're just going to warm up in our neutral spine with a few tabletop lifts. Take an inward breath to lengthen into your tail in one direction, and into the crown of the head in the opposite direction. As you breathe out through your mouth, float one leg up into tabletop position. Now, ideally in tabletop, we want to maintain our neutral spine, abs engaged. We're lifting the pelvic floor, and the knee should be directly above the hip joint. With your lower leg level with the floor, the foot is stretched and we're reaching into the big toe, which is pointing away from the body. We'll keep that angle behind the knee, about 90 degrees. You can then use your inhalation to float that leg back down to the mat. Let's go to the opposite side. Exhale to float up into the tabletop. Make sure as you lift the leg that the foot does not swing inwards like this. Keep your knee directly above your hip or slightly further away. But a tabletop leg should not have the knee closer than the hip like this. Otherwise you'll feel your abs switching off. So do keep that knee out in line with your hip. We'll work from one foot to the other, exhaling up, first the left side, inhaling down, and exhaling up on the right. And we'll just do a couple more there, keep them going for me. Exhaling up, and inhaling down. And one more, exhaling up, and inhaling down. Now, when we lift the leg, it's important that we have the pelvic floor lifted. If you are a little more of a beginner, for the next move in our tabletop, you could engage your core and find an imprinted position to support your spine and your abdominals. Let's all find imprint now. Inhale to prepare. And as you exhale, you're going to squeeze downwards with your ribs and your belly and push your back into the mat. We need to find the mat all the way along the back. We've got a deep contraction of those tummy muscles, but we can feel the floor or the mat beneath us. Hold that contraction in the imprinted or supported position. Now lift your pelvic floor. We're pressing down with both hands. Exhale and float one leg into tabletop. Inhale. Exhale and float your second leg into your tabletop position. And in our tabletop, the distance between the knees and the feet should be the same. We don't want the knees to drift outwards or the feet to drift inwards. We're being very fussy about our tabletop position. On your next exhalation, float one leg down, and then your second leg down. All the while, we're keeping this imprinted position and our bellies contracted. If you've been coming for a while, you can practice lifting your legs into the tabletop whilst maintaining your neutral spine position. So we've got a natural curve, but we're able to keep those abs engaged while we float one leg up, followed by that second leg. Whichever method you're using to lift a tabletop, hold for a full breath, and then exhale, floating 1 plus 2 down. We'll just do one more set. Exhaling up, a full breath, keeping the abs engaged, don't lose those ribs, and exhaling down. Well done. So next we're going to focus again on our tabletop position. So starting with our imprinted or supported position for the spine, use your exhalation to draw down with your rib cage and your belly to imprint your spine into your mat or onto the floor. Now obviously I am on a soft sofa, which is not ideal, but you should feel the support under your lumbar spine as you contract those tummy muscles. We need to lift up with the pelvic floor and use the next exhalation to float one leg into tabletop, followed by the second leg. I'm using the fingertips in the catch position. So the fingertips are just lightly either side of the knees in that lightly catched position with the elbows soft. Next, we're going to just feel those abdominals working in our tabletop position, which is the core move for many of our other moves in Pilates. As you inhale, just slightly draw the knees towards you, bending the elbows a little. As you exhale, slightly move the knees away to straighten those arms in that straight catch position. We'll inhale, the knees moving in an inch or two, and exhale to tighten the abs as the knees move back out to the tabletop position. Inhale, we have a semi-rest, and those abs begin to switch off as the knees move in. Exhale, and our core is engaged again as the knees move out into tabletop. Let's just do that 2 more times. Inhale and exhale. To take a rest now from your tabletop, draw the knees in towards your chest and just hug them in. Relax and take a few deep, slow relaxation breaths. Once we've established our core tabletop position, we can then go ahead and do some of our other ab series. The first one of the ab series we're going to have a look at now is our single leg stretch. We'll start off though with a beginner or modified version of this move. So bring your feet back down to your mat. Inhale to lengthen the spine, and as you exhale, find imprinted position. Remember you're drawing down with the ribs and the belly to press the lumbar spine into the floor strongly and contract your abdominals. We're then going to slightly draw one knee in towards us. As the knee moves in, make sure your foot and your knee are both in line with your hip. Don't allow the foot to swing inwards towards the centre of the body. Keep it out so it has disappeared from view behind your thigh. As you breathe out, we're going to stretch that leg up into the V-up position. It should be fully straight, 45 degrees from the floor, and you're extending the whole foot, pointing your toe towards the corner of the ceiling. We're lifting the pelvic floor at the same time as contracting the belly on that outward breath. Then you can simply lower that foot and switch sides for our level 1 stretch. For the level 2 position, we'll similarly pull the knee in towards us. But now we're going to use the abdominals to exhale and exchange legs. Lengthening away one leg, whilst the other knee moves slightly towards. We're using our fingertips here on the outward breath to guide the position of the knee and the foot, ensuring that the knee and the foot stay in line with the hip. Exhale to reach away and fully stretch. In our level 2 position, the head is still down on the mat or the head block. To ensure that we don't flare the ribs or lift the back away from the mat, the leg that we're stretching is quite high, reaching up and out, and is not too low to the floor. For those of you that want to move to the next level, level 3, as long as you're not injured, you're not carrying an injury to your neck, spine, or have osteoporosis or osteopenia, it is now safe for you to unpeel the head and the neck and the upper spine and rock up into your chest lift position. Now, as the knee moves in towards us, we're still using the fingers to guide the leg, but the outstretched leg is much lower towards the floor. We're reaching away out and down on that long outward breath. Lengthen up through the back of your neck, reaching into the crown of the head. We're scooping in with the belly and keeping those shoulders back. Our abdominals are holding us in the chest lift position. Again, be careful that the foot does not swing towards the center of the body, the single leg stretch. And we'll just do one more. Then hug your knees in and relax.
Now roll over onto your tummy. We're going to work in prone position to work those back muscles. So finding a comfortable position on your mat is essential for this. Bring your elbows so they are directly underneath your shoulders. We want the elbows and the hands to be parallel. Pushing down and forward into those elbows, lengthen up through your back and up through the back of the neck into the crown of the head. We need to activate those glutes as well, and we're stretching the legs in our Sphinx position. From here, we're going to do a little stretch of the quad at the same time as working the hamstrings and the glutes. As you breathe out, bend your knee and just draw the heel in twice towards your glute. We're alternating from side to side. A little breath out as you go. Inhale to release. And keep lengthening up as you go, reaching up into the crown of the head. Inhale. And one more. Inhale. Well done. So now we're going to give those quads a little stretch, a little further stretch. So folding your hands one on top of the other, and you'll have a little bit more space than I am, so you can bring the hands a little bit further out or the elbows a little wider. Lengthening the back of the head, and we're placing the forehead onto the back of the hands. So that ensures that we keep the back of the neck nice and long. Then you can reach around with the same side hand as the foot and just lightly catch hold of the tip of the toe with one finger. Now, if you can't bend your foot in this far, perhaps you have a restriction in your knee or in your hip, then you can just bend your foot to 90 degrees angle at the knee instead. And we're just simply going to push the pubic bone and the hips downwards into the floor as you hold that position, and just feel that stretch as you push downwards with your pubic bone and your hips into the mat. Hold it for a few seconds, 10 to 20 seconds there, and then release. A little stretch on the opposite side. So just catching hold of the toe. Now try not to pull your foot into your butt here. Just a light touch with the hand. The stretch comes from pushing the pubic bone and the hip downwards into the floor. And while you do this, just keep your forehead onto the back of your hands and stay long through the back of the neck. Pressing down and then release. Now next we're going to find our child's pose position to give that back a lengthening stretch. I'm going to come down onto the floor, and on your mat, if you come towards the end of your mat, open your knees as wide as your mat and bring your toes together. We'll sit back with the hips onto those heels, and we need a long straight spine so the chest is out. Be careful not to just drop your head down onto the floor or round your back. The arms are straight, and we'll walk the fingers away from the hips and the tail. Just keep reaching away and lengthening your chest towards the floor. We want the spine to be as straight and long as possible. Keep walking those fingers away. Don't drop your elbows onto the mat, but instead send the chest down a little lower. Once the chest is at its full stretch, we can bring that head into neutral position, lengthening the back of the neck, reaching out in one direction into the crown of the head, and in the opposite direction into the tail. And then nice deep breath into your back before releasing. So next we're going to work our glutes and lengthen the quad from the side perspective. So come onto your side now, up onto the elbow. So now I'm lying on my side, up on the elbow, but if you have a problem with your shoulder, you could just rest your head on your hand instead. Lengthen your legs all the way down in a lovely long straight line, reaching into your heels. If I look down the body, I should be able to see a straight line from the heel to the knee, to the hip, to the shoulder, a long straight reach. The feet are flexed, so the toes are pointing straight ahead, and I've got the top hand just lightly there in front. I need to engage the core here as well, and on the exhalation, press your top leg straight up into the tension that you feel, keeping your foot level with the floor, and then carefully lower so the toe and heel land at the same time. Exhale, pressing up into the tension, inhale, lower. We're moving that leg directly up. Try not to allow your leg to move forwards like this. So we're finding this little glute muscle here, just behind the hip. And some of us don't need to come too high in order to feel that tension, as long as we keep that leg level with the floor. And press, breathing out. We're using the exhalation here at the point of most resistance. And again. And again. Well done. Now we can draw a little circle with that leg. So this time we're pointing the toes. Instead of a circle, I'm going to draw an oval shape. Just carefully circling that leg up, around and down. See if you can make your small circle the same width behind the lower leg as in front. Not only are we reaching slightly forward and up, but we are also reaching back behind the bottom leg. And then reverse your oval shaped circle. And again, an outward breath to lift. Let's see if we can keep the shoulders as still as possible. And one more. Well done. Lower the feet. Now we have some challenges in the small space, so I've just removed the cushion from sight if you're wondering how it's magically disappeared. I'm going to take the top leg now and move that out of the way and see if you can get your heel to land down on the floor in front of you. I'm just going to grab hold of the ankle just to support that leg and keep it nice and still. The bottom leg is still lovely and long and straight, and I'm going to breathe out just to lift it slightly away from the floor and breathe in to lower. We're now using the inner thigh or adductor. And again, exhale to lift, inhale to lower. And just two more there. Well done. And then releasing that top leg back to the mat. Now I want to give this quad a little bit of a stretch. So because I've got limited space in here, I'm just going to shuffle forward a little bit. Because what we're now looking to do is to keep those knees in line. If you now bend your top leg, and we want to keep the knee and the foot the same height, I'm going to lightly hold on to, with one finger, the foot, ankle or the toe, and then draw that leg back into a little bit of a stretch. So I'm reaching that knee back behind the bottom leg now, and I can feel that stretch all the way through that hip flexor and quad. Be careful though, the knee doesn't come up and out. It needs to remain the same height as the hip and the same height as your foot as you hold that stretch.
and then release. Now we're going to switch sides. So I'm going to switch ends. I'll actually just roll over because I think that's the best thing to do in here with our limited space. And we started off with that long straight line through the body. Flexing your feet, keep your toes pointing straight ahead. Exhale to press up into the tension and inhale to lower. Exhale to press, inhale to lower. And while we're doing this little press up, remaining tall and long with the upper body, try not to lean down into your shoulder like this. So you're just pressing lightly down into that elbow, squeezing the glutes to keep that leg fully stretched and straight. Press, and we need 3 more. Inhale down, 2 more. Inhale down, and 1 more. Inhale and down. Now we've got those little circles or oval shapes. So we want to point the toes for this to make sure the legs are fully straight. I'm just going to draw a little circle above the bottom leg, circling up, back, down and around. We don't need the circle to be too far in front of the body. We want the circle to be the same distance to the back as it is to the front. And again, using that exhalation to lift. Let's reverse it and do 6 in the opposite direction. Nice outward breath to lift and circle. Keep stretching and lengthening those legs as you go. And try to keep the shoulders as still as possible. Last 2. And we'll do 1 more. And I can certainly feel my glute, the medial glute, just behind the hip here. So let's take that foot, place it in front, opening the knee towards the ceiling and holding it in place with the hand. Pressing that bottom leg up away from the floor and lower. Now you needn't move too high away from the floor, but we want to feel that in those inner thighs. A nice long deep outward breath to lift. And 3 more. And 2 more. And 1 more. Well done. Now here comes that quad stretch that we had earlier. Make sure you've got a little bit of space behind you. Then we're going to keep the knees directly above each other. Hold onto the foot and just start to draw the knee backwards behind that bottom leg. Now obviously I've got a little bit limited space here, but you can bring that knee a little bit further back if you can. And we want to hold that stretch for about 15 to 20 seconds. And taking some deep breaths as we go. Not a super comfortable stretch, that one, but you will feel the benefit of it afterwards. And release. Well done. So now we're just going to work lengthening those hip flexors and a little bit deeper into our glutes. So I'm going to find our shoulder bridge position next. So for our shoulder bridge position, we're going to make sure we've got a good stable base with the feet. Your heels should be in line with your sit bones in the middle of the glute. There will be a small space between your knees and your feet, and the weight should feel even over the soles of your feet in order to keep those knees in line. We don't want the feet to be too wide unless you are a beginner or have an injury to your knees or hips, in which case that's fine. Also, the heels are now a little bit closer to the body. With the heels directly under the knees, the legs can give the back a little bit more assistance as we work in our shoulder bridge position. We will start in neutral spine, and your head should be down on your mat or with only a very, very low head block or a towel. We're lengthening into those fingertips close by our sides and rotating those shoulders back into the floor. In your neutral spine, there might be a small space under your lumbar region. but we need to engage the abs already and don't allow the ribs to flare. Inhale to lengthen into your tailbone and into the crown of your head. As you exhale, we're going to imprint the spine first. So you'll breathe out to draw down with the ribs and the belly and push the lumbar spine strongly into the mat. Next, we have the pelvic tilt, where the pelvis will tilt back towards us. We are lowering the belly button until it is lower than the pubic bone, pressing the back strongly into the mat. Then we're going to lead up with the tailbone next. Squeeze your glutes, press into your heels and begin to unpeel your tail, then your lower back, middle back and upper back. And we're resting onto the shoulders at the very top. Keep your knees in line with the weight even over the soles of your feet. Don't allow your knees to swing outwards. We're squeezing the glutes and we should be in a neutral position. A straight line, knee, hip, shoulder, with a torso that is flat. We are not extending the spine or pushing the belly upwards. Keep it engaged and those ribs flat. Now, if you feel your hips starting to lower or droop towards the floor here, just bring your hands and place them under your hips like this to give you a little bit of extra support. Otherwise, we've got those arms firmly down, including straight stretched fingers and flat wrists. Inhale now at the top of your bridge, and then on the next outward breath, we're going to repeal. Pressing down with the ribs first to place the upper spine down, then scooping the belly to place the middle of your back down, watch your knees, and then lengthening the lower back to place one vertebra down at a time. Lastly, releasing your glutes and your tail, and then your spine can return to its natural curve. Inhale at the bottom and repeat your bridge. Exhaling to lead up with your tailbone and then one vertebra at a time to the top of your bridge. Now we're just going to give those arms a little stretch, so reaching up and slightly overhead or a little lower if you've got space behind you, and then floating that arm back down and press. Other side, lengthening into those fingers as you reach up, and you can take that back and then back down underneath. Keep those knees in line, we'll go again. And reaching and lengthening, and then pressing the arm down under the body, one more, and lengthen, and then returning those arms down. You should be able to feel your glutes and hamstrings working hard. Inhale, exhale to repeal, upper, middle, lower, and lastly, those glutes. Inhale at the bottom, adjust your feet if you need to, and then we're going up again. Let's go. Exhale. Now this time at the top, we're going to lift one heel and just lift that heel, but keep your pelvis nice and level with the floor. Then lower your heel and go to the opposite side. As you work from foot to foot, lifting and lowering your heel, don't allow the pelvis to tilt to one side or drop, but keeping everything level. Now, if you've been coming for a while and you've managed to nail that move, have a little go at just floating the foot, the whole foot, just above the floor. And then float that foot back and float the opposite side without allowing your pelvis to drop. And you can really feel the underside of the body, all of the legs working hard to hold position there. Let's do one more each side. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And other side. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now give that tail a little lift before you repeel. And all the way down we go, upper. Scoop those ribs and belly down towards the floor, middle. And keep drawing down with the belly button, lower. And lastly, place down your glutes. Now just to ease out that lower back, we're going to rock the knees in and out a few times. And just take a few relaxation breaths. Well done. Now to finish our session, before we go ahead and do some relaxation, we're just going to give those glutes a good stretch. So starting off with your feet on the mat, heels in line, we'll bring one foot across and just place the upper side of the ankle against your thigh. Ideally, you want the foot to be sticking out. So rather than placing the foot onto the thigh like this, move the leg across and have that foot and heel sticking out. We're flexing this foot now, it's not pointed, but we're reaching into the heel. You can apply a little bit of pressure with one hand against the knee here and feel the stretch in the glute. If you've got a hip replacement, however, it's not a good idea to press the knee. So we're just going to relax that knee if that's you. And then you can just drift that a little bit to the left and right, easing out the lower back and the glutes. Now sticking with this position if you have a hip replacement. Otherwise we're going to take that a little bit further. So now keeping the knee in line with your hip, we'll lift that bottom leg into our tabletop position. And we want to try and get that knee directly above the hip if possible, rather than allowing it to drift across the body like this. So keeping the pressure on the glute and on that pelvis as you take that stretch. You're reaching through with those fingers and just holding that leg in position for that stretch. Take a nice deep breath and then release it down. Let's go to the other side. Place that heel in line with your sit bone. Be careful it's not in the middle of your mat. Take the opposite ankle just above the ankle and place it across your thigh. You can apply pressure if you have no injury to your hip. We're going to drift a little to the left and a little bit to the right. And you can allow the hip to lift right away from the floor, that's okay. And just relaxing the lower back there. And then if you want to take that further, reach through and guide that bottom leg into the tabletop shaped leg that we had earlier, with your knee directly above your hip. And just holding that stretch for a few breaths. Keep those shoulders back. And release. Well done. Now it's time to find a comfortable position on your mat, ready for some relaxation.
Make sure you are comfortable on your mat. Let your feet flop open, your fingers curl, and your body relax. Allow your breathing to slow, perhaps become shallow and very relaxed. Notice your heart rate beginning to slow down. The muscles of your body and the muscles across your face begin to feel heavy and relaxed. And we're going to begin a short visualization. Imagine you are in a beautiful, tranquil place. Close by beautiful ocean and shore. It has been a hot day, and now it is evening time, and you're relaxing on the shore. There is a beautiful sunset in the sky. The orange, yellow, gold and red colours of the sun reflected on the ocean. It is golden hour. As the evening draws in, you notice the air becoming cooler. And you lay down on the sand and watch the sky as it changes colour. As the sun sinks towards the horizon, you notice one or two tiny stars appearing in the sky. There is a gentle breeze on your face. But the air has become cooler and fresher. And you can smell the salt of the sea. Around you there is miles of sand. No one is around, and a feeling of calm washes over you. You feel peaceful, quiet, and relaxed. On every gentle outward breath, breathe away any tension remaining in your body. Let it go and allow that tension to seep away across the sand and into the sea, leaving you feeling quiet, calm, still, at peace. Watch the last rays of the sun disappear.